So I was a little frustrated with Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson yesterday because he tweeted out his own diagnosis. He says, I want to give you all an update. I am in the recovery process. I've suffered a PCL grade 2 sprain on the borderline of a strain 3. Now, I thought that Lamar thinks that we all know what that means. I have no idea what that means. It sounds, if I had it, I'd be complaining nonstop. But even after that, we were like, well, does that mean he's done for the postseason? I don't know. It's a PCL grade 2 sprain. And then his teammate, Sammy Watkins, wide receiver, says, I hope he comes out here with said PCL grade 2 sprain, although it's since been reported that Lamar will not play. But it does leave this air of mystery, which leads to the next question. Is Lamar Jackson being overly cautious because he does not have a contract?
Well, I think yes. I would be. I mean, Sammy Watkins basically showed up like 3 weeks ago. He was on Green Bay's roster. Remember, he was commenting on a story about Aaron Rodgers and the receivers that I think may have gotten him in a little bit of trouble. He did put his name on it though, so I appreciate that. He's not just an anonymous source. And now here he is talking to the Washington Post saying, quote, in this league, everybody's pretty much banged up and hurt. I don't want to speak for him in a situation, whatever he's going through with his contracts. I don't know what world he's in, but for me, you got a chance to do something special. We all know with Lamar out there, this team is really freaking good, and special things can happen. He can will this team to a Super Bowl. I don't think he's thinking about it that way. He's got an opportunity to win a Super Bowl, Watkins said. I hope he hobbles back out there. Put him out there for pass plays and don't run him at all, but you never know. And he said, I know I'm being very selfish right now, but I want him to be out on the field. I mean, that's somebody who's in the building who's basically saying, like, get back out there.
Yeah,
I've never seen that before.
He's also saying, but he's kind of all over the place. Get back out there. So do you think that the contract might play into Lamar's decision? And if so, do you have a problem with that?
Well, is that fair, though? Are we being unfair to Lamar? Because he did try to, basically tell the world and publicly be kind of upfront and honest about his injury. And even if you joke around, we're not doctors, and we're not, but the one thing he said is the knee's still unstable. Yeah. And everybody can kind of understand what that means. Why would you put it, whether or not he wants to be out there, why would you put a compromised Lamar Jackson out there as a coaching staff? Because if you really want Lamar to be your quarterback of the future, you're not just potentially hurting the team in the present, but also in the future if he's compromised. You can't put him on the field. This is like when the Washington football team put RG3 back on there out there when he had a knee injury and it ruined his career.
Okay, well, it doesn't sound like the coaching staff had any say on this at all, right? Because the team never announced anything about him. Lamar Jackson put out his diagnosis himself. Now, I actually agree with you. I think the way Lamar plays, an unstable knee is a disaster. And even if you're the team, you don't want that because how long is he going to last? If it was a left guard, Maggie, who had a grade 2 PCL sprain, I think I would not have a problem with him going out there and giving it a go. But Lamar plays like an NBA player. He cuts so much and so fast that there's just no way you could go out there with a wobbly knee. Am I being insensitive by saying a left guard or a guy who's not moving that far? He could get out there.
Yeah, what, shoot it up with painkillers and get out there? Is that what you're saying? I mean easy for us to say from the sidelines.
Right, but you know what I mean. A left guard is not cutting like Lamar Jackson. He's not using his knees in the same way. And I'm telling you right now, there's probably 15 players with similar injuries who are going out there, but they're not wide receivers and they're not Lamar Jackson. I think
can we please clip this? This is Perloff saying offensive linemen are not athletic. Can we please clip this and send it to Mark Schlereth?
Well, I mean, when is an offensive lineman cutting?
No, I understand what you're saying, but they still have to, hold a lot of weight, and not just like their own body. I mean, like pushing against someone else.
But this is just facts, Maggie, that a lot of guys with injuries are going out there, especially in positions where you're not, you can't be a wide receiver who has to cut on a dime with a wobbly knee, but you could definitely be a lineman.
I guess the question is, if Lamar's out there with an unstable knee, does it actually give you a better chance to win?
No, that's the other thing too, right? That's Lamar.
I'm seeing what Sammy Watkins is saying. Oh, he could will us to a Super Bowl. Like, what? Sammy Watkins has been in the game long enough to know that. I mean, I know Lamar's talent is off the charts, but like that statement is just not true. You know, I don't if they could even beat the Bengals, let alone continue on a run with him with an unstable knee. That sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen anything from this team. Even when Lamar was in there, they didn't feel like a contender to me. I mean, I know they crept up there in record on the AFC, but this is probably not as good a Baltimore team as we've seen flame out in the playoffs before. They just don't seem to be. They haven't gotten their rhythm going at all this year. You know, in part because J.K. Dobbins was in. He finally got in there and he looked great. You know, it's been hard, and the receivers are a mess. This whole season has felt just totally rickety for the Ravens to me.
Which is funny, like. Because now they're going to go up against the Cincinnati Bengals this weekend, and obviously the Bengals are a heavy favorite. But when I'm looking at this game, I actually think not that this game is going to be like close, but it's hard for me to take, and we are one of our 10 betting commandments is thou shalt not bet against Joe Burrow. But the way that the Ravens defense is playing, the fact that they are division rivals, know each other so intimately, you know, does that point spread feel a little too rich for a game like this? Not at all. Not
at all.
Okay.
Playoff games, too, a big point spread playoff games tend to be blowouts. Yeah, I don't see that at all. I don't think the Bengals are going to be threatened even in the slightest bit by the Tyler Huntley Ravens because Tyler Huntley's not 100%.
I know.
He's at like 70%. And if he's feeling off, then they have to go to Anthony Brown. No, I mean, maybe I'm missing something, Maggie, but I don't see even the slightest bit of fear from the Bengals on this one.
No, and listen, the Bengals have actually been they've been one of the hottest teams in the NFL. You know, they are playing so well right now. Now, the one thing about them and the one place where they're a little bit vulnerable right now is the right side of that offensive line where they lost not only the right tackle, but the right guard. And we've seen with offensive linemen, like we were talking about the Minnesota Vikings earlier, right? We're, you know, waiting on injury reports for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and some of the guys on their offensive line. You know, when you're down to your second guy or your backup, you know, your third string offensive lineman, you know, it's not the sexiest topic for sports talk radio, but it can be the thing that is the difference.
Difference in a close game. How are the Ravens going to get points on the Bengals?
I don't know how they score points. I have not figured that out yet because they have not scored points basically since Huntley took over. And I know Brown was in last week, but they can't. Putting up 20 points for the Ravens is such a Herculean effort. It's just impossible for them to score. And to be honest, like, I think you can ask yourself, have the Ravens really been wasting some of Lamar Jackson's prime here? They have never given him great weapons. I know they've tried. They've whiffed on a couple first-rounders, and they've never made the big, like the move that your Philadelphia Eagles made to get A.J. Brown, like my Buffalo Bills made to get Stephon Diggs, like what the Miami Dolphins did getting Tyreek Hill. There's never been that type of commitment from the Ravens side of things to get an all-time great receiver or attempt to get a great receiver for Lamar.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Ravens is a team you want to play on. They've very well-run organization. I feel like they've done a lot to support Lamar. Honestly, do you think he'd be better off at another team, like, say, the Jets? Or, here I know in New York they want him. I can't see him having more success there than he's had in Baltimore. He won an MVP.
No, I know, but it's like, this isn't working, you know? Take the knee injury out of it. But, like, this offense isn't working the way it should be. And I think, is it fair to question whether you need a new offensive coordinator and whether you need more on the offensive side instead of skill position players? Of course. Listen, they had Hollywood Brown. They traded him away, got a first-round pick, so good out of them, and never replaced him.
He was not good. And by the way, what did he do? But I don't know. The Ravens.
But they never replaced him. Like, that's the problem. You had talent leaving, and you never brought back anyone else. Besides Deshaun Jackson, right, at some point, and then Sammy Watkins.
Yeah, but they're still. They win double-digit games every year. It can't be an accident. I feel like the Ravens, it's a good spot for Lamar, in my opinion. Does he really want to go to a team that's nowhere near as consistent as Baltimore? I think this year, too, that if Lamar had stayed healthy, they probably would have had 12 wins. It's a lot of wins. This is not something to cough at. Honestly, yes, you're right. They definitely need to upgrade the wide receiver room. But they've had a lot of success. I mean, a lot of success. They were 14-2 one year. So I don't know. This year, I'm not counting against them because of the injuries. That's all I'll say.
And last year too with the injuries.
Yeah.
With an MVP quarterback with a top.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably not the best MVP choice, but whatever.
Well, MVP quarterback and top 5 defense and one of the best special teams units because your kicker can hit from basically anywhere on the field. You should be winning games. But it has not translated with the Lamar Jackson era into postseason success.
Yeah, I mean, okay, where do you rank him amongst your quarterbacks? MVP? I know he won the MVP, but is he a top 5 quarterback?
I think he's close. I think he's right there.
Nah, I don't have him there.
But then you have him between 5 and 10. I mean, you're not.
Yeah, like 7 or 8.
Okay, I mean, you should be able to work with that. That should be a playoff team, but shouldn't it be more than just a playoff team?
I mean, you should win double-digit games with that every year, and then have a shot in the playoffs. Listen, the other thing. Okay, let's talk about his style of play. One of the reasons they lost the playoff game is because he took a hard hit. I think he might have been in the pocket. But, I mean, if you're the Ravens and you're going to pay, you do have to worry about health. I know we don't like talking about it, but mobile quarterbacks have always had this problem, Maggie.
No doubt. I mean, but that's for the Ravens, right? I mean, if he's going to keep turning down reportedly $200 million contracts, I don't even know if that's true, but that was just the reports. If he's going to keep turning that kind of money down, are you going to meet him at his asking price, or are you going to let this thing play out where you franchise tag him and then franchise tag him again, and then he goes to free agency and basically kiss him goodbye?
Yeah, I think 2 years of Lamar Jackson is not the worst possible thing that could happen. At least you have a chance to win the Super Bowl these 2 years. And if you can't do that, then I think it's time to rebuild anyway. I mean, how long are they going to do this?